Higgs tonight, considering the problems of air travel in Europe. Wish we were there.
The ladies to watch the information screens for their gates. Brooklyn Spark, Caledonian 905, Gatwick North.
325, good afternoon to you. There's no speed restriction, you cleared 6,000 feet. Good afternoon, 270, Tango 593 Delta.
Captain Bob Cherry hopes to leave for Malaga in 2 hours' time. 300 passengers share that hope, but although check-ins already underway for a departure printed in the brochures months ago, Flight 2516 is still waiting for clearance from air traffic control. For the captain, it's an all-too-familiar story.
It says here 336, 333, 330, and then you're in slot time. And no slot yet.
In the congestion of a summer Saturday at Gatwick, thousands are already waiting. Hours meant for lounging on the beach are spent languishing in overcrowded terminals. 2/3 of all UK passengers pass through London's 4 airports. More than 20 million will use Gatwick this year. They're now suffering an average delay of nearly an hour. For many, it's much longer. And the experts are warning that passenger numbers will double by the year 2000.
We've got about 4 hours worth of audio cassettes. We've got about 14 gallons of portable drinks. If all else fails, I will juggle a bit of magic or something. I mean, we're as prepared as we possibly can be for the eventuality.
I just hope that they can sort it out as soon as possible, because it just seems to happen every year. This time last year we were delayed for 12 hours.
I'm afraid that we have to face the fact that we've got 2 or 3 years more where we are going to have to fight the congestion problem, and we must be clear so that the passengers who are coming forward understand that.
Strikes, bad weather and technical problems all play their part, but at the heart of most delays is an overloaded, understaffed air traffic system that is struggling to cope. It's a struggle that's now costing the holiday industry more than £1 million a day. And the scale of the measures needed to put it right, and it could well get worse before it gets better.
Well, I think for the holidaymaker, he's going to go on having the sort of troubles that we've seen him experiencing over the last 2 summers. But we haven't seen too much of the business traveller being delayed to any great extent. And that, I think, is probably going to be the new dimension. It's going to be extremely irritating for the short-haul business traveller, particularly the man flying to somewhere like Paris or Brussels, if the difficulties begin to build up on the scheduled services. And I predict that before it gets better, it is almost bound to get worse. So much so that it will become almost the exception for scheduled services and certainly chartered services to take off on time.
We want to give a service of departing on time for our customers, and we're frustrated in being able to achieve that, because although we do have a lot of slack and a lot of spare in our programs today, airplanes still are sitting around for 1, 2 or even 3 hours just simply waiting for a slot. We feel very strongly we're not getting value for money. The cost of the stress that it creates on the system, of course, is almost immeasurable.
Much of that stress is centred on airline ops rooms. The Dan Air Flight 2516 is just one of 100 problems.
Can you tell her the Manchester November Tango departed Manchester 15:45 said?
Every flight must be cleared with every air traffic control centre over which it will pass. And that clearance can't even be requested until 2 hours before the flight is due to leave.
Firm, sir, at present we've got a 17:20 slot, but there has been a problem, traffic exiting Coxey, going through Maastricht, they've got a problem. I'll probably have to reroute you going via Redfar, which will mean going up over the top of Amsterdam, down that way.
Thank you, and as far as you know, no delays inbound to London.
Yeah. I don't think so at this time, but this probably will depend on Maastricht at the moment. It is quite a serious problem as far as I know.
Thanks very much.
Just as we were thinking, it wasn't actually too bad today, and we were just discussing the flow rates through France tomorrow morning. We received news that Maastricht Control Centre, which controls the upper airspace of Belgium and Benelux and northern Germany, has been closed. And we've got aircraft actually airborne about to penetrate that airspace, and aircraft here and at Manchester about to get airborne going by that airspace. So Barry here at the moment is frantically refiling the flights so that we can avoid that airspace and rerouting flights to Munich, to Dusseldorf, to Frankfurt, to Stuttgart.
It's a massive juggling act requiring constant reassessment. Flight 2516 is doing better than most.
We've got 8 vegetarian meals inbound, but we'll be taking those with us from Gatwick.
As the crew make their final preparations, a slot is made available. If all goes according to plan, Captain Cherry should be on his way within the hour. For some of his colleagues, a strike by French engineers means a longer wait. And even as the Malaga crew make their way towards their plane, there's the worry that a new snag could develop to hold them up even further. They're already delayed by 3/4 of an hour, and any delay on any one flight can affect scheduling for the rest of the day.
But this flight here, Delta Foxtrot, from Berlin to Ibiza, picked up a minor air traffic control delay of 18 minutes, and that, in fact, got slightly worse down in Ibiza because he has to come back through Marseille airspace and got into Berlin 45 minutes late. The airline tends to get the blame, but it's by no means the airline's fault that governments have not invested in the infrastructure we need and demand to be able to operate our business.
Delta 0003, roger, clear to flight level 240.
At the moment, there are simply too few air traffic controllers to ensure that the procession of flights leaving London's airports do take off on time. The problem goes back more than 10 years. While forecasters failed to predict the scale at which air traffic would increase, the economists looked for ways of saving money. When investment should have been made for the future, the Civil Aviation Authority actually cut back on its air traffic controllers.
Cabin crew, can you get to your doors to do a door and slide check, please? The door pressure should be 716. Door pressure 716.
For flight 2516, the waiting's nearly over.
We'll go for an A-flap departure, which takes care of that traction.
37A is on this side of the rear, please.
40 minutes late, the Gatwick control tower confirms takeoff for Malaga.
This is not unusual for a Saturday afternoon on a flight down to Spain and Malaga and such places. I don't think it's related to the present air traffic technician strike in France. It's just one caused by sheer congestion. There's just so many aircraft wanting to go, and that a 40-minute delay this time on a Saturday afternoon is not unusual.
Hello, 2516, the proceedings on a right turnout. You're clear takeoff.
100 knots both. B1.
Britannia 034 Alpha, call London 1284.
1284, bye, Britannia 034 Alpha.
Vito 97 Papa, it's clear to land on 26 left. The wind is 250, 12 knots.
Beaver 316 with you, just passing 3,200.
Thank you, 316, 6,000 feet, no speed.
Captain Cherry is now negotiating some of the busiest airspace in the world, passing from controller to controller. Taxiing, takeoff, climbing and cruising are each handled separately. It's a system that places obvious restrictions on the number of flights that can be handled and obvious pressures on both controllers and crew.
Well, we had 3 frequencies on the ground at Gatwick. We had 2 London frequencies, and we're now on our second Brest frequency, so that's 7. 7 individual controllers so far.
How much extra pressure does it put on you and on your colleagues, the fact that you are constantly changing from one controller to another as you go through sectors, and often a number of controllers within each country?
Yes, it's just more work and more pressure.
I've thought that a second runway for Gatwick disappeared about over 10 years ago, when certain promises were rightly made, I think, at the time to people around the Gatwick area. And since then, the airport at Gatwick has grown up over the ground where a second runway could have gone.
For today's passengers served a diet of delays and congestion, decisions on new runways may not seem the most immediate concern. But if the decisions, both on the ground and in the air, aren't taken quickly, then tomorrow's tourists will fare little better than today's. For the industry, the worry is that those tourists will decide it's simply not worth the wait.
Boring, isn't it? It's a drag. You know, you pay all this money to go abroad, and spend most of your holiday sitting in the airport.
It would certainly put me off of coming in the future, yeah, because if they can't get their act right, then, you know, an hour or 2 hour delay could mean quite a bit of time for us travelling as well. It means a day, really, travelling, getting to the airport 2 hours before, and then getting away 2 or 3 hours late. You know, it's a day lost.
Malaga approach, good day. This is Danair 2516 and a descent to flight level 100 inbound to Martin. We have Quebec.
2516, it's copied okay. Cleared for ILS DME approach, landing 14, QNH 1012, speed 240 or below, please.
So in fact we're cleared for an approach, aren't we now? So in fact, for the moment then, let's have 5,005.
When we attacked the A325 or took the into train in the morning, one thing that we find in UK is that transport in all its forms needs a lot of attention. And I think all of us in transportation in the UK probably need to think ahead much more than we've done in the past.
Down we go.
Thank you. You now live in 198 and please make speed 250 or 240 knots if you can. Continue for...
I really cannot foresee what's going to happen in Europe, and as we've seen this year, it is so important that the situation is seen as being smooth throughout the whole of Europe. Any one country can actually bring the system down at present.
Clear land, runway 14, Danair 2516.
Charter 50X739, planning to stall out.
I think that people in the community countries and elsewhere are making their views felt in a way that the environmentalist view has been expressed. People are concerned about safety, they're concerned about their inconvenience, loss of holidays, loss of business opportunities, and so on. They're not going to put up with it. So politicians are going to have to respond. They haven't done so in the past, they're going to have to do now.
200. It's on salmon, sink 8. $100. On salmon, sink 7.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10. Two green.
The difficulties we're experiencing in the late 80s and are going to experience in the early 1990s, I think stem directly from a lack of investment in the middle of the present decade. Now, you can blame the government, you can blame the CAA, you can blame a whole host of people, British Airports Authority, as it used to be. The fact of the matter is that you simply cannot catch up on the enormous backlog of investment that's needed to improve the situation simply by the flick of a switch.
For the passengers of Flight 2516, the Spanish sunset awaits to make up for the moments of misery at Gatwick. And over the years to come, it seems those that follow must find similar compensations. With no instant solutions, no miracle cures, millions of passengers look destined to endure the terminal boredom of the annual airport delay.
I must apologise for the poor sound quality at the beginning of that programme, and also an apology to some viewers in East Anglia who've not been seeing the programme they expected.